something's happening with moms. Like, so, it feels like to me they are so much more activated. They're saying, I'm going to do something about this. And they're getting really gritty and resourceful.
Yeah,
Do you sense that that's happening across the country, maybe around the world?
absolutely. Absolutely. Mama bears are rising. Moms are definitely speaking up. I've seen that ever since 2020. I feel like all the stuff that happened since then, I feel like the moms really started kind of putting their foot down and said, we're not dealing with this stuff anymore.
Your name and address?
Jenn Erickson, Elk River.
Okay.
I came here tonight to talk to you guys about the high school Little Theater. And I want to preface this by making it clear that I did not come here to ask you for any more money. I know that the city already graciously donated over $500,000 back in 2002. And sadly, I don't believe that that money was used appropriately.
Five Stones Family Theater. You and your group, your soldier group of moms, wanted to save the local theater in Elk River. So what went down?
Me and three other theater moms. One of the moms, she's performed on the stage. All of her kids have for the past 20 years. So they call it their second home. So it's multi-generational. The theater, it's considered historic. So it's a staple in our community, at least to us it is. So we had a meeting with the superintendent of the district, and he flat out told us that that theater is not intended to remain a theater anymore. The Little Theater and its history is very important to the community. So is that anything down the road that you'd be willing to consider? Is this like a done deal?
I hope you're hearing. We 100% want to support theater in our schools, right? Can we do things differently? Can we look at other spaces, right? We want to support you in that way, but we do not feel as a school district at this time that the Little Theater is in our plans to maintain it as is.
We left the meeting at that the theater was going to be destroyed and repurposed into something else eventually. So then we know how much the theater means to the community, so we decided to create a Facebook page and create a petition. This theater's smaller than this other big theater that they had built, and that it's good for those kids who would be intimidated by a big stage, and it's more affordable than the bigger theaters that they have. So we tried to really give them all those reasons, but they still didn't want to listen to us.
Sadly, the theater has not been maintained. There's several seats that are ripped on, and the stage could use a fresh coat of paint. With that proposal, it was learned that the district does not intend to keep the Little Theater a theater. We were told that they weren't sure what they were going to do with the space. We let them know that the space is grandfathered in and they don't need to do renovations. It was also brought up to them the large donation that the city gave, and they said, how long do you expect us to hold on to that agreement?
Really, if we lost that space, we wouldn't have a place to perform because we couldn't afford other spaces. So it really would leave a hole in our community that again, the administration was making these decisions and not seeing what that would do to the community and not having, it would destroy a lot of the smaller theater organizations. Also, it kind of opened a door to community members talking about different things with this Little Theater. And we had found out that about 20 some years ago, there was also a Save the Little Theater kind of petition that had happened.
Last week, I was able to take some time reviewing the meeting minutes from the city council meetings from back in 2001. And what struck me was how eerily similar it was to what's happening today, present day. Even down to the tagline, Save the Little Theater, and needing $2 million to renovate this space. Mayor Dietz, I think I saw your name there. I think you were a city council at the time, so you're probably very familiar with this.
Yes.
And though looking back, the district was looking for money, and now it's the community just simply looking for your support to keep this beloved space.
Some people had gone to the city hall and were saying the city wasn't providing a space for the arts. And the school district went to the city and said, we have this Little Theater, but we need to build an art room. And if we don't get X amount of money, then we have to get rid of this theater. So in order to save the theater for the community to use, we need money. So the city gave the school district $563,000 to save this theater so that the community would have this as a place to perform. In that deal, so I can't even tell you how many hours reading meeting minutes from 20 years ago from the city council to see what took place back then. But part of the deal was the city council and community arts groups would get priority scheduling for the little theater. And they would also, the school district agreed that they would put in new carpet and seating. So that was interesting to all find out because the carpet and seats have never been replaced. It's the same carpet and seats from the 70s. I brought this to the school district and nobody can tell us what happened to that money.
I've also heard that it's in question if the $500,000 given to the district was in fact a donation or purchase. Please help us investigate this.
The city council basically said, we gave the money and it was out of our hands. It was a donation. And the school district says, we built an art room, but they can't prove that they ever built an art room. No one can even show me that art room in the high school. So it's, yeah, that one we still don't have answers for.
And so they're not, in your conversations with the school board or with the city, nobody's obligated to tell the community what they did with over $500,000 for a resource for public schools.
The answers that they give is they built an art room. And so that's how they're answering the community. The only thing that they were able to tell us is they showed us a bid from before they got the money of how much it would cost to build this art room. But they can't show any receipts from after that if the art room was actually built and how much money was spent on it.
Just under the past 2 years for past, present, future use of the theater and any plans to repurpose it, and it came up with 37,000 documents. So you can't tell me that a useless space would have that much information attached to it.
You just did all the research that somebody would if they were doing an investigative piece.
Yep, sure did.
However, you saved the theater. The theater is not going to shut down, and there will be renovations made. But how did that happen?
So I decided to do a data request, or FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, with their school district. With that data request, then it showed that in 2019, there was a very large referendum that passed in our city, and there was promises there. That the first bullet point was to renovate and improve the theater in Building C, which is the little theater. So in the data request, there was a email communication that said, here's what we promised in the referendum, but what if we repurpose instead? Because I found that it was a referendum promise that they were intending to break, I then brought that to the current school board and said, because we're going to be looking at another referendum in 2026, and said, how do you expect voters to ever vote for a referendum again if you are breaking your referendum promises from 2019? And that is what saved the theater. So they agreed then to save the little theater and to put in the carpeting and the seats that were promised. Because twice now they've broken their promises to uphold that space. So they did it, vote and agree that hopefully this winter, they'll do those improvements.
And from what I read, there's this local newspaper, the Star News, that reports that the school board chairman and it looks like another official were saying it was Superintendent Andy Almos. I guess there was a concern about having to be ADA compliant and how astronomical it would be to do too many renovations. Well, what was your response to that?
This space has been used to get a significant amount of taxpayer dollars, and they just let it just go to waste. Just, again, seats ripped, and the stage is, honestly, it's all shameful. And I'm just glad that we figured it out and that they are keeping it.
What was the board's response when you brought forth all of this information? I'm sure there were some people on the board who were surprised.
Yes, so the really sad part is there's one board member who sat as chair during the 2019 referendum and knew exactly all the promises that were on that referendum that's on the board right now. This board member was a part of the 2019 referendum and didn't say anything.
We created a petition that I want to give to you. I have all the signatures.
Board members not pleased. The superintendent is not happy. I know he didn't want to save the space.
Right. But he didn't know, he might not have been aware of the promises that weren't kept from what the documents say.
He was on the email so the current superintendent was on the email that said, here's what we promised, and what do you think if we repurpose it instead? So the current superintendent was on that email. The thing about Elk River is we're having declining enrollment, so it doesn't make sense to repurpose a theater for classroom space. Some people in our area are choosing to homeschool private schools. We have a couple charter schools now, and people are going to those schools. A lot of people don't trust the public school system.
In that area or in the greater Minneapolis region?
I would say in Minnesota as a whole.
They're just fed up with the current curriculum, with the administration, with...
Yep, our Minnesota Department of Education pushes a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't agree with, and it filters down into the public schools. It's required curriculum. We have had some huge curriculum changes here in Minnesota that a lot of parents don't agree with, and so are trying to move to homeschool or private school.
In Minnesota, according to CBS News, this is from just this year, Minnesota homeschool totals are up nearly 40% from prior to 2020.
Yeah.
And they're up 7% from 2024. Parents are looking for an alternative. Do you think that this theater is also a little bit of an alternative in a world where maybe more moms want to be able to give their kids something different to participate in?
Yep, absolutely. I do think so. I really do. I think that theater has a bad rap sometimes, and that you're not quite sure what you're going to get. And I think that theater is very welcoming of everybody. And I think that oftentimes maybe Christians don't feel like it's a spot they belong. And I guess my hope is that everybody feels like they belong.
How does faith factor in your ambitions for this community theater, for the Little Theater?
We decided after this kind of battle to save the Little Theater that why don't we create our own theater organization? And we wanted to pray before we went on stage the last show we did with them. And so we grabbed hands and we prayed. And it was really cool because some of the other moms and kids jumped in and just broke our hands and grabbed hands and joined in our circle and prayed with us. That's really why we started Five Stones Family Theaters, so that we could have those moments like that and decide that that's okay to have, that we don't have to go off into a separate hallway away from everybody because we're not making people uncomfortable, because this isn't our theater organization. We have it right in our mission statement that we're faith-based and that we're going to pray, and people are welcome to participate if they want to, and if they don't, that's okay. We still want them around. So,
but tell me, how that's been received in the theater community there, or in the arts community in Elk River.
So far, good. So far, really good. We've hosted a workshop and we prayed beforehand and everybody joined in, and we've gotten a lot of new kids. We did a flash mob with about 30 people to a Christian song, just knowing it's okay to be loud about Jesus. It feels good. It feels good to not hide your faith. Have people know who we are and come participate with us. I think in society as a whole, I feel like we're starting to see that Jesus movement more and more. So I think it is empowering to see that kind of everywhere.
And moms of faith are getting louder.
Courage is contagious, right? You kind of hid away that kind of stuff. And then in the corporate world, if you're a Christian, you couldn't say so. You can't say that stuff out loud. You can't talk about religion and all of that kind of stuff. And then I think just our society shifted and said, no, it's okay. It's okay to say that you're Christian. What we believe with our theater is we're Christian and we're not going to be shy about it. And if you're not a Christian and you don't have faith in Jesus, there's nothing wrong with that. Do your thing. You don't have to pray with us. You can still participate.
especially in a community outside of Minneapolis where other people's faith is loud and clear over the loudspeakers in downtown Minneapolis. You guys can Google that if you want to.
And just looking back on all of it, because we had a 0% chance. Like, the superintendent looked us straight in the face and said, it will not remain a theater. At the end of the day, we're teaching our kids that even if you have a 0% chance, you still stand up for what is right. And what was right was us saying that this theater mattered, and that $563,000 mattered, and that our referendum money mattered. And in the end, our 0% chance, we won.
And what was your kids' response when they found out you won?
Lots of screams.
Is there any way that people can support the theater?
5stonesft.com is our website. So just go to our website, check us out. We have a Facebook page too, Five Stones Family Theater.
Can people donate?
We do have Five Stones Venmo, which I suppose I could put on our website.
Okay. Put it on the website.
This space has touched the lives of kids and families for generations. It mattered back in 2001, and it matters even more that our population has grown. In a time when kids are glued to screens, we need spaces that foster human connection and increase interpersonal communication skills without devices. I'm just a mom. I've seen how theater can transform lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm standing on 10. Like I said what I said. Ay, why pray to the universe when I know who made it? Got good and my flow good. It ain't no debating. Back to back tag team champs. We participating. Glowed up from the flow up. Going super saiyan. Breathe, stretch. I'm going on the wall. They send me nod on me. You can tell when I talk. Holy gang in the chat. God set us apart. No matter how you paint the whip, it can't start with no spark. Hey, start me up. Got me started. Yeah, yup, you done got me started. On point like a target and I can't miss. I ain't even go my hardest, said I couldn't, and they lied. God got me step aside. Thought we was hecka deep in the ride. 2 up, it's gon' slap when we gliding.